and right. And so why are we here again? One of the things, guys, is that, like I told you, I want to know everything. So when I got in this business, guys, I wanted to know everything, to include those things on the legislative level. I want to know every aspect of the business because, again, you guys know me. I'm always talking. So I'm gonna introduce the board to you. So you guys know I like to talk about the Monopoly board. And so what I would like to say to you on this is that when you see this board, guys, if you never played the game of Monopoly before, if you never actually played this game before, and it was just sitting there in the box, the first thing you would want to do is pick up this rule book and read it so you know how to play. Many of us are watching YouTube videos on everything that we can do, but we never learn the rules. And when you go out here and make a mistake, the expectation is that you know the rules. And and I'm sorry, and nobody ever told me that is not going to work for you. So learn the rules. And when you learn the rules, you can play this game at maximum level. Okay? You can play the game at maximum level. So I know that many of you do a number of different things in real estate. Some of you do wholesaling. Some of you like to do fix and flip. Some of you may have already aspired to do rental properties and may have some rental properties in your portfolio. We're going to talk about how you deal with all of those situations this weekend. But if you hear me talking, and we'll get back to this again later, I'm always telling you guys to play this game at maximum level so that you can do and be all that you were created to do and be. Guys, this board will actually retire you and your family playing this game, this kids game in real life. Guys, I'm just going to say this, on wholesaling side, when this COVID-19 stuff is over, guys, I'm going to tell you there's probably going to be a lot of wholesalers that are probably going to have to, that are going to go by the wayside because we may not have the current energy in our marketplace once we go back to work and we start recovering from this experience that we've had. So what I'm going to tell you is it's important that you do multifaceted things in your business. Diversify your portfolio. Wholesaling may be your niche, but you do other things. I always tell you guys this: if you're smart enough to contract it, okay, you're smart enough to keep it. So make a plan to keep some properties. Maybe you say for every 10 properties that I wholesale or every 5 properties that I wholesale, I'm going to keep one and I'm going to put it on my board. Okay. If you've heard me speaking before, I'm always talking about this board. What I tell you with this board, guys, is that if you look at the board that I'm presenting to you right now, you see money on the board, you see the dice, you see the tokens. It looks like somebody's playing the game. You see the deeds down there. All right. It looks like somebody's playing the game. There's houses and apartments on the board. Okay. If you're actually in this business, what does your board look like? That's my question to you. What does your board look like? Is your board empty because all you do is flip houses? So endeavor to put something on your board. We're going to talk about the benefits of having something on your board a little bit later, but try to put something on your board because this board, like I said, will give you an avenue to do so many things in life. Everything I do, guys, I equate it to houses. We want this. How many rents is that going to cost me? I want to go on a trip. How many houses is that going to cost me? Or how many flips or assignments is that going to cost me? Okay. Everything equates and is budgeted by what I can do with this board. So take this board and work it. My suggestion to each and every one of you is that you actually go out, buy a board. Some of you have heard me say this before, buy a board, put it in your house somewhere conspicuously where you have to see it, walk by it every day and say that this is my microeconomy that I can control. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that before the session is over with. But whatever's on that board, that's what you control. So that's your microeconomy. So what I'm going to tell you is aspire to put something on your board because I would tell you, woe be to the person that says you're a real estate investor, and 3 years from now, if somebody asks you, or if your board looks like it's empty. So what I would say to you is that if someone was to accuse you of being a real estate investor, would there be enough evidence to convict you by virtue of what you have on your board? Okay, so put something on your board. All right, so again, guys, like I said, when I got in this business and figured out that this was going to be my livelihood, I wanted to educate myself in every aspect of this business, to the level that not that I just had a working knowledge, I wanted to know what all of these so-called professionals knew. I want to know what the attorneys knew. I want to know what the CPA and bookkeepers knew. I want to know what, I started off working on properties myself and everything as well. I want to know what my contractors was doing. I wanted to know every aspect of this business. And I wanted to have more than a working knowledge, because what I found out was that there was a level of incompetency that we're going to talk about that was just crazy. And so a part of that education meant that I wanted to also educate myself in the rules and the laws. Okay, the rules and the laws, because what you're going to find out, guys, is that there's a lot of folks, attorneys general's offices and governors, that don't like real estate investors. And so they don't have a problem trying to kick us out of business. And so I've spent time both nationally as well as locally lobbying on behalf and behest of real estate investors to make sure that we can stay in business and do those things that we do creatively. Okay, building wealth. And so that's 2010, that's an illustration where we went to Capitol Hill and lobbied on behalf of real estate investors in regards to the Dodd-Frank laws that came about. This is, in the halls of the Senate, this is one of my partners that was, as we were there lobbying. This is myself and my wife in Senator Burr's office on behalf of real estate investors, again, for the purpose of the Dodd-Frank law, which that law dealt with after the mortgage crisis that we had. They came up with the Dodd-Frank Act, which actually reeled real estate investors into the realm of financing and held to the same standard as the banks for the most part. Okay, they call it unintended consequences. Truth be told, it was because of our efforts that bill that became law was watered down in some respects, so that mom and pop operations as well as small time real estate investors could still go out and conduct the transactions and not be held to the same standard as the banks. Okay. We have to have a seat at the table. So what I'm going to tell you guys, if you want to stay in business, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to that as well. Because if you don't, you'll find yourself out here deal machining and land glide and doing all the stuff that you do, and find out that you don't have a business to do it that you can do it in, because they keep outlawing something. You guys know what happened in Illinois in regards to wholesaling. There's all kind of laws being enacted all over the country. And usually what happens, guys, if one state does something, then the bordering state will usually try to adopt something too. Remember, there's 50 attorneys generals, 50 governors. These guys talk like you talk with friends. They get on the phone, start chatting, and decide, hey, we shut wholesaling down over here in Illinois. What'd you do? Yeah, send me a copy of that bill or that law that you enacted. And guys, most of us, we're not paying attention to that. So find your local real estate investment association. Find somewhere that you can stay in tune with what's going on in your local market, state market, or even on a federal level, and get involved with those activities, because we have to have a seat at the table. We got a lot of people that's making decisions on what's going to impact, on what will eventually impact our business, with none of us at the table. And unfortunately, we don't have a lobby, a national lobby. And that's something that we really need to have, because every major industry does have a lobby that makes sure that they have a voice that's heard. Okay. So again, we spent time up here meeting with our representatives. And like I said, guys, I thoroughly really enjoyed that, because I got to put a face to these individuals, and they got to put a face to me. And I wanted to let them know that, hey, I'm representing what you're trying to kill. If you want to put a face on what you're trying to do, put my face on it, because I'm doing this business legally, ethically, and above board. And so we just got to make sure we do that and hold our contemporaries and compadres to the same standard. Hey, because what happens with one investor, guys, somebody goes out here and does something frivolous, right? And take advantage of someone or do something that, maybe it was a mistake they made just because they didn't know. It's not about that individual, guys. It's about those real estate investors. And so you want to make sure that, we're putting a warm face on what we're doing right now. Like I said several weeks ago, this is our opportunity, even in this situation, not just to prey upon people, but to shine. This is our opportunity to shine with being a help, we're in the people helping business. All right. So, and we're problem solvers. So this is a time, guys, for you to start solving problems. Think about what's going on out here in your marketplace right now. How can you be a resource? How can you be a help? Maybe you're talking to a seller, doesn't actually land you a deal, but it helps them keep their home. There's nothing wrong with that. No good deed goes without being blessed somewhere in the future. So just think about that, guys. And I'm going to tell you this right now, there is never a right way to do a wrong thing. So you want to make sure that whatever you do, that you understand what you're doing, and you're taking an approach to that in a legal and ethical manner. My thing always is, would you want someone to do this with your mother? If the answer is no, then hey, you need to go back and rethink what you're doing. All right. Again, I told you guys, y'all see all them books and everything in the background right there. Bunch of money spent educating myself. And I did all that seminar after seminar, coaching after coaching, because again, I wanted to put something in here. And everything in here is backed up on a hard drive. Now, I spend a lot of time, Maxwell and all these guys like to rib me sometimes. They go, hey, Mr. Robinson, come with, I know he got a whole bunch of slides. And so they like to tease me about slides all the time. Matter of fact, I think I got about 270 slides on this presentation we got this weekend. But I'm gonna tell you, every one of them darn slides is in my head. I don't need a darn slide. I just like to be able to illustrate stuff to you. So every slide that I present, guys, you better believe that stuff is in my head and it's backed up on a hard drive. So I just want you to know that. But I spent a whole bunch of money so that you don't have to. You can get some of that stuff right here, because you don't know what you don't know. And for some of you guys that are actually spiritual, I'm going to go Bible on you for a second, because it says in the Bible, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. Guys, most of us are destroyed for lack of knowledge. We are. We don't know nothing. We don't try to know nothing. We're trying to get off of somebody else who may be doing something wrong themselves. I'm just going to preface this right now and just make this statement. A lot of you guys are just totally tuned in on what's going on YouTube and Facebook. Everybody nowadays wants to do 4 deals and go out here and have an event. I'm going to tell you, everybody running around with the camera crew, guys, don't necessarily know what the heck they're talking about. Everybody running around with a camera crew as well may not be doing what they say they're doing. So you want to make sure you got somebody that you know is actually doing the business in a manner that you can see the fruit from what they're producing, and that's who you want to follow. All right. The thing I tell you again, and I said this earlier, don't be afraid to spend money to educate yourself. You can't go to, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, you had to spend some money and go to college. So why don't you want to spend some money now to make sure that you can do something that's going to change your life? I tell people all the time, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. I ain't calling nobody ignorant, but try ignorance, because you don't know what you don't know. And what I said earlier, if you don't at least get a working knowledge in this business, somebody's going to take advantage of you, or you're going to find yourself being killed because of what you don't know, because incompetence is everywhere. All right. So you're dealing with incompetence at every level, okay? Every so-called CPA or real estate attorney is not necessarily for you. A lot of people like to put us in their cookie cutter box. One of the things, guys, that led me to want to educate myself to another level was the fact that I got tired of going to trainings, spending $8, $10, $15,000, and then come back to North Carolina and find out that the attorney that I'm using says, if you're going to be doing that, you're going to have to find you another attorney, because we don't do that. You're going to get in trouble doing that. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm like, oh, man, I just spent a whole bunch of money doing this. What do you mean we can't do it? What do you mean? It's illegal. It's nothing illegal. I mean, I was in a class with 500 people sitting in there, paying a whole bunch of money. So they were teaching us something that we can't do. So I had to go out and educate myself in these processes so that I could call BS on these folks that was full of it. Okay. Because I needed to know what I needed to know. And if that meant that I needed to know it to the extent that I could tell them what to do, then thank you. Because if you heard me speak before, I interview every attorney or CPA that I deal with. You don't just get my business because you got a sign on the door. Okay. I'm interviewing you and I start asking you certain questions. And when your eyeballs start looking this way and that way, and you acting like, I see that look on your face, I'm going to extend my hand, say thank you for your time, and I'm on my way. Okay. So remember that, guys. You got to work. You got to find competent people. Competent people. So I'm going to say this. Competent people means that if you are in this business and you're taking your tax return over to H&R Block, then you probably ain't in business. Just go ahead and pack up right now. Because H&R Block, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, most people at H&R Block can't even prepare your taxes. Okay? So it's a difference between a tax preparer and a tax strategist. Remember that. That's something you should write down. I need to find me a tax strategist. You want to find somebody that looks at your situation and says, John, if you do this, if you set up a company like this, or if you do this like that, then it's going to save you $15,000, $20,000. Not a person that just takes the documents that you give them and just input stuff and then tells you how much money you have to pay. So you're looking for a tax strategist. You're looking for an attorney that knows real estate and understands the creative things that you're doing. I'm going to tell you right now that what we're doing today and what we're going to do over this weekend in regards to trust, you're going to know more than probably 80% of the attorneys that you encounter. I said it. You're going to know more than about 80% of them. That's a shame in itself. And I'm telling you, that's the God's goodness truth, guys. Most of these guys, if they're not going to actually do that stuff, they don't get this in school, or they get a couple hours of it. My daughter went to law school. I asked her this specifically. I said, what do you know about trust? What did y'all do in law school? What did they teach you in law school about trust? She said, I think we got about 1.5 semester hours. And I say, well, I asked her a question. I said, okay, you got 1.5 semester hours. That's the day you probably ain't go to school or you was asleep. So anyway, I'm just telling you guys, you got to find competent people to work with. And then, guys, we are here because you don't know. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and you never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching you. You have to remember that you're in this real estate business, guys. People look at you and they see you flipping houses. They see you buying houses and you own stuff, and they automatically think you're rich. Your tenants think you're rich. Everybody you encounter think you're rich. That's why, they feel like if I don't pay you your little $800 this month, you won't miss it because, hey, you got it like that. But see, and then the fact is, because they think you're rich, anytime something happens, they think they can come after you and they want to sue you. So again, we got a lot of attorneys out here that are actually don't have any work. Okay, they don't have any work, point blank. They don't have any work. So what I'm trying to tell you is you have to make sure that you put a cover over yourself and your business, because you don't want to run into these guys right here. These are some of my favorite people to talk about. How to cheat them and sue them. Attorneys at law. Okay, You don't want to run into them. These are the folks, guys, that when you're driving down the road and you see all the signs, have you slipped on the job? Have you done this? Have you done that? These guys are looking to put the screws to you. So you got to know, guys, that, again, you have to set yourself up, because these folks, if you look at some of what I'm showing you, these folks here don't have nothing to do. And I'm going to say this, if you're out here, and most of us nowadays, we want to be on social media touting our wares with everything we do, that makes it even more important that you actually make sure that you have an LLC or you have some type of entity to protect you, okay? Because if you're out here moving and shaking and you're posting checks, which I don't recommend you do, but you do you, all right? And you're posting checks. There's a lot of people, guys, that don't want to see some of us be successful in this business. So if you're posting checks and celebrating, we celebrate with you. But just know that there's some folks that don't want to see you being successful. There's some folks that don't want you to realize that I don't need a 9-to-5 job clocking in. All right. And so you need to understand that. And I'm going to say this, the bird with the brightest feathers gets shot. Write it down if you haven't. Bird with the brightest feathers gets shot. Okay, so these folks are actually here looking for you. If you see there, it said Newsweek called it lawsuit hell because of the number of lawsuits that actually happen in our country. So you, like I said, you've seen them every time you go down the road. Serious injury, serious results, no win, no fee. All right. We don't win the case, you don't pay. All that stuff you see as you're going down the road. Have you been injured on the job? Call 1-800, you can sue. So guys, that's a purpose for us being here this weekend, because a lot of lawsuits are actually frivolous. All right. And again, you want to protect yourself because we have an actual target on our back as real estate investors, or just period, as people, we have a target on our back. All right. Because somebody wants what you have without having to work for it. Guys, people look at you and they want what you have and they don't want to work for it. And most of us, guys, we don't understand that we're actually giving it to most people because this is how we operate. We operate above the surface. All right. So if you're looking at that illustration, that's above the surface. You see, everything you have is exposed. Everything you have is exposed. You want to be like that gentleman over there to the right that's scuba diving. You want to have your stuff below the radar so that you're not detected, so that you keep your assets off public record. And because, again, what I said earlier, you never know who's watching you. All right. You never know who is actually watching you. So you want to make sure that you're doing those things that keep you in good shape. You want to build an actual team around you, okay? You want to have a team around you that actually gives you the ability to protect yourself, okay? And your team will include trust as a measure to protect your assets, all right? That team concept will also have a will, LLC, or some type of entity, and insurance. For all of us that can relate to sports, you see Russell Wilson there? Russell Wilson has all those teammates around him. Russell Wilson is not worth anything, care how good of a quarterback or how accurate he might be. He's not going to do anything if those teammates aren't there to block for him, okay? And so if you don't have a team working for you, then you're going to look like this guy right here and you're going to get sacked. So you need to make sure you put a team together, because someone wants to sue you and there's a lot of frivolous lawsuits. So talking about lawsuits, here goes one so you understand what's going on. Liebeck versus McDonald's. Long story short, this is a woman that went in McDonald's, 80 years old, and she was drinking coffee and spilled coffee in her lap and suffered third-degree burns. She filed a lawsuit, right? And people were criticizing her because it's like, okay, you burnt yourself with coffee and you're filing a lawsuit, okay? Because what? Somebody didn't tell her that coffee is supposed to be hot? Well, long story short, guys, if you look on the slide, she actually won that lawsuit. McDonald's settled with her for $2.7 million. $2.7 million. That's why nowadays when you go in most of these restaurants and you get those styrofoam cups, there's a warning on there that says hot coffee will burn you. Duh, okay? But so anyway, lawsuits, guys. Here goes another one. Rosenberg versus Google. This is a lady that's walking around with her phone on the highway. All right, she's just walking along. Okay, and she sues Google because she gets struck by a vehicle. All right, and she sues Google because she got hit by a car following Google's directions on her Google map, walking. Okay, and because the map should have told her that she should have to get in the road. All right, she actually lost that lawsuit, but the fact that she actually filed a lawsuit, all right, tells you what kind of stuff we're looking at. Here goes a question for you. Think about this. Are your assets exposed? Think about what you actually have exposed, okay? When I say exposed, that means that someone can just go on public record and see your house, see your car, see all that good stuff, okay? We're going to show you this weekend, over the course of this weekend, how to actually get yourself off public record, all right? Because this is what we got, guys. We got all kinds of liability, particularly landlord, property owner, whatever you have, mold, lead, slip and fall, all kinds of stuff, guys. And so we want to make sure that we limit our exposure so that we don't suffer a lawsuit where we lose everything because someone's trying to take advantage of us. All right. Creditors. All right. Can use court judgments to seize your personal property if you allow them to do so. So we want to try to figure out what do we do to make sure we don't have everything exposed so that in the event that we do have some tragic incident, we don't lose everything. Automobile accidents, guys, are one of the things that create the most liability for us. So I want you to understand something. Even as you're doing your real estate activity, some of us have young kids or whatever, 16, 17, 18, maybe they just started driving, and now they go out and get in an accident. They're texting as they're backing out of something at Walmart. And guess what? Car's registered in your name. You face a lawsuit. Now let me tell you why asset protection is important. Because guys, the way this actually works is, let's say your daughter backed into somebody, or your kid backed into somebody. And now this somebody, supposedly on the scene, everything was fine. And now, a few days later, you get a letter from an attorney that tells you that Miss Johnson's suffered severe back trauma and injuries. Is currently being missing work and everything else that's going on in this lawsuit, and that they're holding you liable for it. Reason they're holding you liable probably is because they saw something where you had some exposure. So typically what's going to happen, guys, is you're going to have a situation where Miss Johnson walks into the attorney's office maybe, and she sits down there, she comes in and sits down, and the attorney looks at her and he evaluates her and tells her the extent of her injuries. Not the doctor. The attorney told her the extent of her injuries. And basically what he does is she's going to tell him her story, and the attorney's going to sit there and listen to her, and he's going to say, hold on, Miss Johnson, wait just a second. I believe, your case sounds pretty solid. I'll be right back. And so what that attorney is going to do is he's going to go back in his back office. He's going to do an asset search on you to see what you own, see whether or not you have any resources. And that's going to be his determining factor as to how he's going to treat that case. Now, if he goes back there and he sees you don't own much of anything, then conversation is going to go in a different manner. If he goes back there and sees you rocking and rolling, he's going to come back out there and say, hey, Miss Johnson, I guess what? I went back and kind of did a little research. I think you have a case. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure of your case. Matter of fact, we're going to take your case pro bono. If we don't win, you don't have to pay. Okay? And so he's going to go and pursue you because the ultimate goal is to get you if they don't win the lawsuit, to at least get you to settle, because they're going to aggravate you so bad they make you want to settle. All right. Now, if he goes back in that back office and you don't own anything that he can find, he's going to come back out there and he's going to talk to Miss Johnson, say, Miss Johnson, I believe you got a great outstanding case. I believe you have a case, but this is like any other case. We got the judge and we're going to have a jury trial. And, this could go either way. I mean, this could be a 50-50 chance of you possibly winning. So there's really no guarantee. And by the way, my retainer fee is $5,000 and I'm $425 an hour. And lo and behold, Miss Johnson, her back that was hurting, she got touched by, she touched the hem of Jesus' garment, and she stands up and miraculously she's walking out of the office now. She's been healed, okay, because she don't have $5,000. And that's what we want to do, guys. We want to make sure that we have people, we have a structure set up to protect our assets. So we're going to talk about this weekend how you even actually, if you can see that right there, guys, that's actually a registration on a vehicle that we owned. That's where the vehicle is titled to a trust. Matter of fact, it says the Missions United Trust, and that Missions United Trust, maybe if you get pulled over, then maybe someone thinks that you're involved in the missions with the nuns, or with some type of charity organization, and maybe they leave you alone. All right. So we're going to talk about placing your cars in a trust so that you can eliminate liability. Well, also, guys, when you're rolling around, you get pulled over and an attorney says, the officer says license and registration. Again, you're going to hand them something that doesn't say anything about you. And how many of you out there want to be in that position? I know I do, and we try to make sure we do that all the time. All right. So the other thing, guys, that if we're going to learn this weekend, we're going to find out about trust. Okay. And we're going to talk about trust in depth. We're going to talk about putting your cars, boats, airplanes, jewelry, your house, even your bank account. We're going to show you how and what actually you can put in a trust. All right. Because putting things in trust properly, guys, actually helps you to avoid probate. Okay. If you guys know, probate is the process whereby if an individual is deceased, all that stuff goes through public record, has to go through the court system, the estate, there's an executor assigned, and you go through the estate process. If you go down in probate record, you can find out almost any and everything about somebody. You go down there and look through the records, and they say this person died due to blunt trauma, okay, from an instrument or whatever it is. You don't want people in your business like that. So we're going to talk about how you can avoid probate. That's the thing, guys, that's very important, because a lot of us don't understand. Many times we think that we have a will. If we have a will, we think, okay, well, we're good to go. I got a will. Well, wills most of the time get probated. They go through some type of probate process. When it goes through probate, what they're actually doing, guys, they're trying to make sure that, they're checking your estate. They're checking, there's notification to the creditors. They want to make sure before they put you in the ground and they start dispensing funds, that if you owe somebody, they get paid. All right. And then what you have when you have a will, guys, and most of us sometimes don't realize this, is that if you have a will, and let's just say you have a will and last will and testament of John and Sue Smith, and you have it in your file cabinet, okay? And you told your loved ones that if something happens to mom and daddy, you need to look right here, and that's where we keep our stuff. Well, if something happens to you guys, what happens? They go find the will, they pick up the document, and it says last will and testament, John and Sue Smith, prepared by Joe How to Cheat 'em and Sue 'em, attorney at law. So they're going to call How to Cheat 'em and Sue 'em. And now How to Cheat 'em and Sue 'em is back on the clock. They were on the clock when they prepared the will, and now they're on the clock again, because now they're going to help them go through the estate process to go through the probate process. So now you have somebody that's on the clock. and maybe he's getting paid by the hour. Maybe they're getting paid as a percentage of the estate. So what that looks like is you intended for little Johnny to get $100,000 when you passed. All right, now you pass, and little Johnny is supposed to get $100,000, but little Johnny only gets $85,000 because the attorney's fee was 15% of the estate. So he gets $15,000 for helping you negotiate through the estate process. And so when you the difference is if you have a trust, all right, set up properly, then if something happens to you, then there's a successor beneficiary in place, and that successor beneficiary steps right in place. Okay, he steps right in your place. He or she steps right in your place, and there's nobody that knows anything. Nobody knows what happened. All right, and there's no probate process for that. So that's where we want to be. Let's see. I want to show you what I'm going to do right here. We're going to take a quick break. So we're going to come back, and what we're going to do when we get back here is we're going to get into actually entities. So we're going to talk about all of the various entities and what they actually do, what they are, and then you can decide what best suits your situation based on what you hear coming from me. So thank you. Let's take, we're going to take 10 minutes. We're going to be right back here getting started promptly in 10 minutes. So let's take a short break.